Yo, what's going on, everybody? My name is Caleb,
My name is Trevor.
and welcome back to Coffee and Headphones. This is the podcast where two brothers talk about brother things. How you doing today, Trevor?
I'm doing well, bro. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I just went thrifting,
Oh,
almost
heck,
0
yeah,
for
what did you
3.
get?
I got a couple Christmas presents. I was trying to get everybody's, but I could only find two things. I see you have your coffee today.
I do.
I
Oh,
do as well. Are you
when you're on the
good?
long haul, yeah.
That's bad with coffee.
Was that a Blue Jay?
Yeah, shout out to Toronto Blue Jays.
Back home,
Bad,
huh?
yeah, bad season. But hey, man, still, shout out to Toronto Blue Jays. Today we have a super fun show. We're going to be breaking down our album of the year candidates and crowning a winner. We're gonna give you our top five, but before we do that, I wanted to go over a couple honorable mentions if that's cool with you.
Yeah, that's cool with me.
Okay, sweet. So a few honorable mentions that I wrote down are some of these, at least one of these, you're gonna be surprised that didn't actually make my top five.
Okay.
But one is 12 Karat Toothache by Post Malone. I thought that that was probably second behind Stoney in terms of post discography, a great return after a disappointing third album. So I really like that one, but it wasn't quite top five for me. The
Okay.
Forever Story by Jid, I thought was really good, but not quite top five for me. Just not enough diversity, I felt, but still a good album, high quality album. This Is What Blank Feels Like by Jake, I thought was really good as far as pop albums go, but not quite cohesive enough for me to be a top five album of the year.
This is what it feels like.
It's blank. It's like the underscore is all connected, so it's a blank. So
By
it's
who?
by Jake.
Oh, okay.
So he has This Is What Love Feels Like, This Is What Heartbreak Feels Like. It's volumes 1 through 4.
Got you.
And then this is the album that I felt like might surprise people, didn't actually make it for me. That's From a Bird's Eye View by Corday. Was just sitting outside the top five.
That's fair. I left that one off. I also left Jed off. I love Jed, but I had one that I don't think you're gonna guess.
Mm,
Just sneak its way into the top five. That I really liked. I love Jed though. I think Jed doesn't get enough credit.
yeah,
If doing hip hop Grammy nominations, Jed should have been on there.
yeah, he should have.
Carly should not have. We talked about that a little bit, but
Yeah, on the
yeah, shout
last
out
one.
Jed, shout out Corday. I think those are both good, and shout out Pusha T too. Um,
Pusha, Joey, who else? Denzel dropped a good album.
Denzel did drop a really good album, but I just haven't listened to it enough to
Yeah,
determine whether it was going to be on my top five or not, so I left
yeah, that's definitely valid. Anybody else?
it off. No, I don't. I mean, I shout out Drake. Drake did not make my top five
Drake
this year.
dropped two albums this year.
Yeah, both of them missed my top five, but
0
they
for
are in my
2.
top 10. Um,
Okay, both of
one
them.
of them, one of these albums you're gonna hate that are on my top five, but hey, it is what it is.
Oh,
Shout
wow,
out Lil
but it's
Baby
not
too.
Drake.
It's not Drake. No,
Interesting.
that
Uh,
should be
if,
one guess.
if we're reaching, then I'll also say like 350 dropped a solid album, but not quite album of the year for me.
Mm.
All right. How do you want to do this? Do you want to just start from five and then count backwards until we get to our number one pick?
Yeah, I'm gonna be very brief on mine.
That's fine.
Until we get to number one, just so we can keep it rolling. But yeah, I mean, top five, number five. You can go ahead, brother.
I'll go ahead. Okay. Well, number five album of the year candidate for me was moMINTS by Tobe Nwigwe. I thought that this album was really just like one of those grandiose projects from the rollout to like all the content that came out. The acoustic at the crib version just dropped a couple weeks ago. And that's so fun. I love that Toby does that because his whole
Yeah.
thing is like these big overblown sounds, these overblown drums, and it's just big and epic. And then he also dials it in and has a whole different arrangement for the at the crib version. So Shout out to Tobe. I really like that album. The features were really good and the aesthetics were fire.
That's solid. That's a solid top five start. I do have that one in here, but it's not number five.
Okay.
Closer to the top. But my number five is actually going to be the 1975.
Wow.
Um, I know, right? I
Yeah.
thought that their album, being funny in a foreign language, I thought it was super cool. I think they
Yeah.
did a really good job of just stripping it down. And it wasn't what you would expect from them, but like out of their albums, I think it probably number one or two for me, which is why it had to make my top five list.
Yeah.
I think it had some really good songs that I'm able to listen to on repeat. Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it brief as I can. So
Yeah.
that's my number five pick.
That's a good pick, honestly. I completely that slipped my mind when making this list. So shout out to 1975 for making it.
Yeah,
Uh
Happiness is the best song on that album. But anyway,
it's really solid. I believe that's Damon's album of the year. We were just talking the other day. It was that or something else, I forget.
can't
But
argue.
yeah, no, it's really good. For me, my fourth pick for album of the year, coming in a little bit lower than I expected, but 2 through 4 are all very close. Really two through five are. But number four for me is New Hollywood by What Up RG. This is the album that we waited years and years for. And it was a really good project, but there was some things that I felt were missing or tweaked a little bit too much to where it lost that organic flavor and fell a couple of spots down. But for the first few months that it was out, first 2 months, I guess it was out, it was probably number two behind my clear cut favorite. But New
Hmm.
Hollywood was a really good project overall. I just felt like a couple things could have been different and it would have won album of the year.
Wow, that's fair. It did not make my top five. So I guess
Wow.
no, it didn't.
This man's drinking that Harley juice, that
It didn't hit.
haterade.
It didn't hit for me, bro. I'm sorry.
It's
There's
okay.
another one that didn't make my top five that you're gonna be grossly upset
I know
about.
what that is already.
But that's just me. What you're gonna be more upset about is my number four pick. I Never Liked You by Future. I thought,
Wow.
yeah. So I know going from the 1975 to Future, but I really, 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 really liked maybe not the album as a whole, but a few of these songs pushed it farther to
It's
me.
okay. This is a few of the songs of the year candidate list, so it's okay.
Yeah, it had the summer anthem or one of the two summer anthems with "Wait for You," and I love Tim, so throwing him on that I think was just absolutely perfect. And you know, Drake and Future, it's gonna be a hit. I like 712 a lot. I really did like the song with Kanye quite a bit. Keep It Burning. I thought that was a good song. I I like Kodak Black. Sue me. I don't care. Voodoo was cool. It was a good album. I like listening to it all the way through, and I can listen to it whether I'm on a road trip or whether I'm working out or whether I'm just chilling. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why it had to make my top five personally. And if I remember correctly, it is one of the Grammy nominations this year.
It is. It's one of the Grammy nominated albums for hip hop. I don't think it's anything outside of hip hop. But shout out to Future for doing that, I guess. Not that the Grammys are valid at all, but
No,
it's
not at all.
still an accolade. Okay, well, I mean, that's fair. For me, like New Hollywood, I guess, was kind of that album that I waited for. And the Future album didn't hit, so we just kind of canceled each other out, I guess, there.
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
moving on to my number three. This is an album that I just continue to fall more and more in love with as the year went on. I don't
Okay.
know why you're acting like this. It's not Taylor Swift.
No, I know it's not. That's gonna be like number two. But
This
go ahead.
this album is Few Good Things by Saba, which I got the pleasure of copying the vinyl. What is it?
Okay.
Copying, which
Same thing.
came with
A lot
an
of coping when you listen to
incredible art book. Yeah, no, low key, you do have to like be in a coping mindset to listen to Saba. But it's cool because this whole art book that it came with has kind of like an open letter that he wrote about like it's kind of interesting to watch Saba's evolution because he used to be a very like fear-based person, and that came through in his music. And the
Yeah.
letter was all about how he would like try to unlearn that and like stop letting fear have a hold of him. And you can hear that throughout the album. It's a lot more like still that storytelling reminiscent vibes, but in a more positive light. And that's the kind of stuff that I absolutely love. I vibe with that every day. So A Few Good Things by Saba is my number three. Like I said, 2 through 4 were all really close.
Yeah, and that is maybe the dopest vinyl I've seen in a long time.
It's fire, bro.
Oh, shit.
Should I show the people the actual record?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I don't want to scratch it. Look at that.
That's so fire.
That's that army green type tint. It's so gorgeous, and it's a 14-song album, so it's a 2 vinyl thing. I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
Nice. Solid pick, bro. So for my number 3 pick, it is your man, Toby. I thought,
Toby
yep.
Mac?
Yeah, Toby Mac, you got it. No, I thought Moments was a really, really, really good album. And I also know that Toby's been making his way up the map for a few years. You start seeing him with choirs in his house, and you start seeing him with his kid and his wife. He's on
Mhm.
some wild, wild stuff. But I thought this was really like a quote unquote breakout for him where he's getting a lot of credit. And
Mhm.
I've always loved the way he just has instruments and really makes it like a musical almost that's
Yeah.
enjoyable and palatable.
Yeah, it's a
But this
big
is like
production.
this was a symphony, having a stroke, a symphony for me.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I think the lyricism backed up that symphony.
Oh, definitely, bro. Oh, this man can't speak. He went to Lord Botetourt, if you're wondering.
Symphony. I got better grades than Caleb, if you're wondering. Um, but no, I thought it deserved the 3 spot. I would have put it a little higher, maybe. But there's an album that you've already mentioned that I gotta have at my number
Mm,
2.
yeah,
So,
that's
but no,
fair.
that's my number 3, bro.
It's a great pick, man. And like you said, Toby's a family man, and that shines through in his music. He's just 100% authentic. He's what an artist should be. So I
Yeah,
wish nothing but success for Toby and his family.
100%.
Okay, number two for me. You called it just a few minutes ago. It is Midnights by Taylor Swift. I'm drinking the Taylor juice, and maybe it's a little recency bias, but whenever I went to arrange my numbers, I just couldn't drop it. I, I was very close to putting Few Good Things second, but it was very like for me, especially tracks 1 through 6, it's just like all 10 out of 10s for
It hits
Midnights.
for
And
you.
and it's just so hard to do that in music in general, but especially like an aging artist. Pop music doesn't like whenever an artist hits 30, and Taylor's 32, dropping arguably her best album ever. So I've been a long time Swiftie, and I think now with the partnership that she has with Jack Antonoff, Soundwave also produced a couple of songs on this one. It was just kind of undeniable that it's a whole vibe for millions of people. So Midnight's gets my number 2 spot.
That's fair. Coming from you, I understand.
Yeah,
I think it's a great album, and I think a lot of people feel that way. For me, I would just be super fake if I said that it hit my top 5 because it didn't.
that's fine.
Um, so I could sit here and play that, but I'm not going to. You hit the nail on the head, though. My number 2 is Saba.
Mm,
Few Good Things is absolutely amazing, and I've loved Saba for 6 years,
yeah,
5, 6 years.
bucket list. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, and for me, it's like hard when there's an album or even songs. Like, there's 2 or 3 songs from Bucket List that like will always hit me in my
Yeah.
gut.
The
That
Billy Williams story.
I'll forever feel that way, right? Just like some of Kendrick's songs on Section 80 for me,
Hmm.
feel that way. But when an artist can back that up and do it again,
And
is
continue to evolve.
and he evolved too. And I really liked the features that he did have on this album. I
Yeah.
think he made those artists sound better than a lot of their singles. Like G Herbo for example.
Yeah.
Um Survivor's Guilt, that's a wonderful song.
It is a
Um
great song.
so yeah, for me, I mean that had to be number two. And the only reason it wasn't number one is because uh
There's another album.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, I mean you're exactly right. And while you're talking about the features, I forgot to touch on legendary Black Thought verse at the end of the album to wrap it all up. So
Yeah,
shout out
yeah.
to Saba for getting to that level.
And and he had the song with Smino and Black, which I
Yeah,
thought was absolutely
still
amazing.
a great song. You know, a song that grew on me a lot from this album was Soldier. It's just it's such a great like coming of age story about him
Yeah,
or whoever he's speaking on, realizing like, yo, I'm about to have a daughter. I gotta stop being a kid out here. I gotta actually grow up. So I really like that song and the album overall. Yeah, great album.
that-
Okay, brother. Um, I believe that leaves us with one album left for
and
album
it's
of the
gonna
year.
be the same album, or else we are not related anymore.
Hold that thought.
Okay. Okay, hold that thought all together. Bye, Caleb.
Resume that thought.
It's gonna be the same album, probably.
Maybe.
You-
I just have one question.
okay.
Are you happy for me?
Billy, are you happy for me? Smile on my face. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, baby. Could
Yes,
it be
sir.
any other
It could not.
answer?
It could not. Other than this man messaged me and said Taylor Swift album of the year, and I questioned if we were actually blood related.
Wait, let me find. I put in my notes like right when Midnight's came out. I'm pretty sure it was like Taylor over Kendrick over RG or something like that.
Taylor over Kendrick over RG.
Yeah. Nah, 16 minutes into the album, I wrote that. Can y'all see that on my screen?
Yeah, now I can.
Listen,
Man,
now I will say, I texted you later in that day, and I was like, I may have overreacted.
oh, hold on. All right.
But yeah, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, man. Let's talk about it. Let's dive into this album. We weren't doing the show when this album came out, so we haven't really shared our thoughts on it with the people.
Uh, for me, I mean, I love it. Isn't my favorite Kendrick album ever? No, but is it the best? Maybe. Like, people are going to listen to this 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now and be like, this was a work of art. Like,
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with, like, oh, this was a banger, or wow, that bar was so hard. Which there is that in this album, right? But they're going to be like, this is a work of art, and this is the times right here. And it was so different than what people expected or wanted from Kanye.
that's true. It's Kendrick,
Kanye.
but yeah.
Ooh, my bad. From Kendrick. Sorry, got Kanye. I watched the video earlier. Alex Jones. Sort of weird. Anyways, now it was so different than what people wanted, especially with everything that's happened over the past 2 or 3 years.
Mhm,
People wanted Kendrick to speak on those things in depth, and very deliberately and very aggressively, I would think,
mhm.
because that's his job as like the voice of this generation, I would
Yeah,
say. Sure.
yeah.
He spoke on it, but I think he did what not only wonderful artists, but wonderful people and wonderful leaders do, which is rare. And he spoke on it in a way that made us be introspective, and he was very
Mhm.
introspective.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, he's already made um, albums that are like anthems for the culture, right? This was like uh y'all are asking me to be all this, and I'm just a human, and this is what I think, and this is who I am, and I'm flawed. And it was absolutely beautiful. I had to listen to it 2 times. The first time I was like, "This is so weird." The second time I was like, "Wow,"
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's how I feel.
No, no, for sure. I agree. Like people definitely wanted Kendrick to speak on everything that's been happening with the Black Lives Matter movement, with COVID, with the presidents and all that that's been happening in the last several years. And I remember Kendrick, dang, was it Kendrick saying it directly? Or did I just have like a moment one night where I felt like Kendrick was speaking? You know what I mean? But I remember being like, Kendrick has already spoke on this as much as people are willing to listen. Now it's his job to be more thought provoking and share more of a personal story. I thought that Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers was such a wonderful album. From the production choices were incredible. The mixing is the best mixing I've ever heard in my life, any genre. It's just ridiculous. The mixing on that album is great. And the lyricism, the storytelling, it's also like thought provoking because it's like I made it to the mountaintop type thing, right? I'm 35 years old. I'm the most successful rapper in the world, and I'm so dissatisfied with that. I can't even leave the house in peace because of
Right.
the success. And I'm
Which
out the way. Are you happy for me? It's a real like look into what what the price of success is.
I thought it was very interesting because you've seen and you've heard other artists, rappers, actors, celebrities in general say stuff like this and act that way. Even like Justin Bieber, for
Mm-hmm.
example. Like you've seen that
Yeah.
before, but you haven't had somebody be able to say it in a way that he did on this
Yeah.
album.
Nobody
You
can
can't tell
share
me
a
that
thought
if
like Kendrick.
somebody else worded certain things like Kendrick did, they wouldn't be canceled. But because of the way Kendrick did it and because of who he is, people were forced to listen. And one of my favorite things on the album by far was the fact like him talking about how they used to talk, how they used to think, and like the growth from that. Um, I mean,
Yeah.
Mother Sober, Auntie
It,
Diary,
yeah.
that last little bit of this album is like, oof.
Oh yeah. Mother I Sober definitely made me cry the first several times I listened to it. Not just the first listen. But
And he brought out Kodak Black on this album,
he,
baby.
he put on for Kodak, which is an interesting choice. I know a lot of people are confused by it. I was confused
I'm
by it,
not though.
but just considering Kodak's past and everything. But he put on for Baby Keem. I love to hear that. Keep it in the fam. But I think, can I share can I share a theory with you
Yeah, let's hear it.
here in front of everybody?
Let's hear it.
What if Kendrick isn't just speaking as himself, but the whole Mr. Morale thing is representative of the Black community in America? And the way Mother I Sober is a great depiction of this, the way that he talked about how his family tried to paint him into the victim when he was younger, and he grew up with that victim mentality. What if that's like white America trying to act like Black America is the victim and not adequate enough to grow and have their own strengths? And there's a lot of different types of themes like that throughout the album that you can kind of dig into. I haven't heard anyone else share this theory, but I've shared it with a couple friends, and I don't know how much validity is in that, and we never will because Kendrick is Kendrick. But I think it's a cool little thought experiment to go through the album and listen with that in mind.
Yeah, and I won't say like that's right or wrong. But here's what I will say, and I'm not comparing it because obviously it's different. But it was very clear what he was saying, and you can interpret it in different ways, but still get to the same solution, much like the Bible,
Mm,
which is why I think it was super cool. And I'm not saying it's like prophetic words or like from
no,
God by any means, because I,
no,
I don't know if I
no. There
believe
was a
that.
lot of like theological questions and issues with this album as far as Kendrick's faith is concerned. But
Yeah, which
I get what you're saying from an artistic standpoint.
yeah. No, and like I really liked that it was like it wasn't only like I'm real like I'm still a person, I have these feelings. It was like I'm annoyed and tired of you guys putting me on this pedestal. I
Mhm.
love to share my art and my heart because that's who
Yeah,
I am. But I never asked to be like the voice of this generation, and I'll do my duty. But if I slip up or mess up, like I can't be the one. It's just like I'm not. I don't know. I thought it
it,
was.
Kendrick made you think about it, but he is not your savior. That's the whole premise. And I also thought it was really interesting to hear how much of this album must have been written in the year prior to it coming out,
Yeah,
because he talks about having writer's block for 2 years. You know, the greatest rapper of all time, arguably, has writer's block for 2 years. He talks about the whole Kanye and Drake thing. He talks about a lot of more recent events, and it's really interesting to hear kind of how it's similar to like when John Bellion made Glorious on Prep. He said that he didn't make music for like a year, and then one day he just sat down at the piano and started singing Conversations with My Wife. And then he wrote the whole album in a month. So I think only the greatest artists can kind of like not necessarily pick and choose, but like when you get that calling, that motivation to make art that you have to share with the world that comes from a higher place,
yeah.
then you know, right? So I think this is a clear cut example of that on display.
No, I agree. I agree. No, I mean it's undoubtedly the album of the year. I'm
Mhm.
sure it'll win a bunch of awards. What I am super excited for is next year. I want to see if Cole drops an album that is better than his last. I hope he does. But yeah, I'm excited for to see what next year holds. So
Next year is off to a good start with Quinn dropping in January. This is the first year in 6 years that Quinn hasn't dropped an album. So hopefully next year is a good album. Hopefully John Bellion drops an album. Probably
we should
won't.
have Kendrick dropping something separated from TDE. It won't be an album, but I think it'll be a few singles, so I'm excited for that.
Maybe, maybe. I am super excited for all that 2023 holds in store for music, for us, for Apex. Hey, I know we joke about not having a lot of listeners on this podcast because the YouTube numbers are so low, but the actual podcast numbers aren't too bad. So if you are by any chance someone who just found us on SEOs and you don't know, I make music. I go by the name Apex Frazier, and I just dropped a new single. It's called Confidence Part 2. You should go check it out. I put the whole team on it. Trevor can attest. It's not too bad. It's about 6 out of 10 or so.
Now, everybody says that their family, their friends, their music is good. I'm always supporting all my family and friends that do music, but there's only a few that are actually good at it. That's no knock to others. If it's your passion, run with it. But this song is crazy. It's a hit. It goes. A bunch of kids and artists and Christian artists that actually made a hit. It is the wildest thing you've ever heard. I would listen to it over any of these albums all day long, except maybe Kendrick, depending on the day.
That's
But
valid.
Confidence Part 2, it's on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube has the
Hmm.
lyric video out. Not
We
on
can link it.
SoundCloud, I don't think.
Oh, I
Um,
can put it on SoundCloud.
I love SoundCloud, guys. That's just who I am. But uh, y'all really should go listen to it, especially if you liked our albums of the year. I think you'll be very, very entertained by Confidence Part 2 and Confidence Part 1. already is a hit, almost 100K streams. So this
Mhm.
isn't like rapping in the basement. This is real. It's not like
No,
producers
this was
sending him every minute.
recorded in a garage, not a basement. We leveled
My
up.
fault, my fault. But yeah, go
Nah.
listen.
Hey, I appreciate y'all listening to our album of the year candidate video. If you want to see more like this from us, be sure to let us know. Yeah, I guess without further ado, that's that. Trevor, anything that you'd like to share with the people?
Stay safe. That's it.
Stay safe. Yeah. And also, Merry Christmas. It's coming up soon.
We may have one more before Christmas, but if not,
That's the
Merry
plan for
Christmas,
now.
Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. If you don't celebrate, you're a loser. Celebrate something, and that's
Celebrate
all.
something. Believe in something, guys.
That's
All
right.
right. Peace, love, and pixie dust.